Leader of the Opposition.
Thank you. My question is to the Prime Minister. Petrol prices have increased by as much as $900 for a typical family driving a standard car in a year, while real wages have fallen by $700. Can the Prime Minister confirm it has become harder for Australian families to make ends meet under his almost decade-old government?
The Prime Minister.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. Thank you, Mr Speaker. Headline inflation under our government has increased by 1.8% over the time we've been in government. Under the Labor Party, it was 2.7%. Mr Speaker, electricity prices under our government, Mr Speaker, have risen on an annual average basis of 0.3%.
The Prime Minister will resume his seat for one moment. I'd just ask members of the House to please keep the level of interjections down. Thank you. The Prime Minister has the call.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. As I said, electricity prices under our government since we were elected have risen on average by 0.3% a year. Under the Labor Party, Mr Speaker, they rose by 12.9%, Mr Speaker, over their time. And in most recent years, over the last 3 years, Mr Speaker, electricity prices have fallen by 3.2% on average each year. Under the Labor Party, Mr Speaker, in their last 3 years, they were rising, as I said, by around 12.9% each and every year. Mr Speaker, on fuel prices in the last 3 years, they've increased by 1.2% on average per year. Under the Labor Party, Mr Speaker, they increased by 2.6% each and every year, Mr Speaker, and on average over our term of government, they've increased by 0.4%, and under the Labor Party, as I said, 2.6%. What I know about petrol prices is this, Mr Speaker. The Labor Party want to change the fuel emission standards, which is an increase in the petrol price for consumers, Mr Speaker. The Labor Party has a sneaky petrol tax, Mr Speaker, a sneaky petrol tax where they want to jack up the price of petrol.
The Prime Minister will resume his seat. The Leader of the Opposition on a point of order.
Yes, Mr Speaker, it goes to relevance. The question asked about petrol prices going up by $900 in the last year. It didn't invite the Prime Minister to make up policies from those on this side of the House.
The Leader of the Opposition will resume his seat. The Prime Minister has the call. I'd ask the Prime Minister to remain relevant to the question.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. I'm talking about what the impacts on petrol prices might be. And, Mr Speaker, what they might be, and what I can tell the House and what I can tell Australians is that our policies, Mr Speaker, our policies will not be changing the fuel emission standards that will put a sneaky petrol tax on Australians, Mr Speaker. Our policies will not do that.
The Prime Minister will resume his seat. The Leader of the Opposition on a point of order.
Yes, Mr Speaker, he's now defying your ruling.
The Leader of the Opposition will resume his seat. The Leader of the Opposition will resume his seat. The Prime Minister is on point. The Prime Minister has the call.
Can understand why the Leader of the Opposition, with his constant interjections and coming to dispatch box, is sensitive on the issue of sneaky taxes, Mr Speaker. I can understand why he's sensitive.
The Prime Minister...
tax, not what happened under the Labor government, would it?
Manager of Opposition, just resume your seat for a moment. The Prime Minister will return to the question at hand.
So, Mr Speaker, under our government and the economic policy settings that we have put in place, under the excellent fuel security initiatives that have been put in place by the Minister for Energy, Mr Speaker, the excellent policies to secure the refinery operations that we've got up in Queensland, Mr Speaker, securing those down in Victoria as well, Mr Speaker. Those are the policies that we've put in place to protect refinery jobs. We're protecting jobs in refineries, in aluminium smelters, in the resources industry, in manufacturing, Mr Speaker.
The Prime Minister's time has expired. The Prime Minister will resume his seat.